I don't know if you've noticed, but we're on the verge of a market crash in the game industry, and these AAA companies are just standing there and letting it all burn. You know what? Even if they try to save it, it's not like they'd get anywhere because now it's way beyond their control. With all the rising costs of game development and computer hardware, I really wasn't expecting RAM to be one of them. We've already had it bad enough with overpriced RTX cards, but piling more components on the problem is like putting the final nail in the coffin for PC builds and consoles. However, there's kind of a silver lining to all this. As it turns out, people always find ways to game in downturns, and yeah, emulation's one of them. But another common route is to go on Steam. It's going to be really interesting when the Steam machine comes out, because if the price is right and new consumers realize its potential, they might actually stay on the streamlining bandwagon. I talked about this more in one of my videos. You should check it out if you get the time. At the end of the day, AAA games are going to be the one to take the hit, and consoles will go right down with them. You see, modern consoles are deeply reliant on big budget titles for their success. They're what sell hardware, define whatever brand they have, and justify the existence of closed ecosystems. In a downturn, Sony will protect its PlayStation, and Microsoft will protect its Xbox, but Valve will protect its platform. They don't care which game's a hit. They care that games generally exist. When a new console launches, it isn't indie games that drive adoption. It's giant exclusives backed by huge marketing campaigns. I think you know that players must accept this locked platform and restricted backwards compatibility because the new games promise a great experience. And while some actually do, without a steady flow of them, the value proposition of a console weakens quickly, like what happened with the PS Vita back in the day. The only thing that's good about them really is people never have to worry about game compatibility. What you see is what you get, and it'll always work. But then again, the downside is the games are locked to that console. This is where Valve breaks those barriers, and while the industry takes a hit with rising costs and studio closures, Steam's one of the few platforms positioned not to just survive, but to kind of benefit from it. I know that sounds counterintuitive at first, but believe it or not, Steam's entire ecosystem's built to resist downturns because it isn't dependent on exclusives or consoles. Normally, when money's tight with these big productions, they get delayed or cancelled, and at some point these platforms become stale for a while. Steam, on the other hand, thrives on volume, where indie games, AA projects, and early access titles all coexist, and I could go on. When consumers spend less, they don't stop gaming. They just spend smarter, and while new indie games come out, there's a good chance they'll still work just fine with older hardware, saving us hundreds of dollars on upgrades. While console gamers are forced to spend more, PC and Linux gaming starts to become the better option through and through. Just last week I was looking on Steam for a kind of Dark Souls 2D game, and I stumbled on a game called Blasphemous. Not only is it a fantastic game so far, but it doesn't need much power to run, so I'll never have to worry about any hardware limitations, and can play my save files anywhere. This matters more than people think, and it's proof that great games don't need cutting-edge hardware or corporate budgets to succeed. They just need a place to exist, be discovered, and stay playable. To me, this is a kind of freedom that you can't get from consoles, and I think people are gonna realize it at some point. I think Valve's playing the long game, and Steam takes away risk from the company and moves it onto the market itself, and that's a big advantage. We all know they made sales in the millions with their Steam Deck, but that's nothing compared to how much they're getting from Steam sales. I'm talking about multi-billions in revenue, and you probably know this by now, but the company doesn't fund most games on the platform. Developers take that risk and keep ownership of their games. I don't think Valve ever wants to deal with some developer screw-ups like copyright infringements or bug fixes. Their decentralized model's far more resilient than the streamlined way that's controlled by publishers. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of small teams can still survive, and this is where developers and consumers build a long-term trust in a platform like Steam. But what's also good are the features that are catered for consumers, like community hubs, user reviews, and refunds if the games aren't working properly. If you compare that to subscription models or console stores where they feel kind of fragile when they're cutting services, it starts to feel financially unsustainable. These features would face their own strain, and platforms like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus rely on constant stream of content to maintain their wacky perceived value. It's like Netflix, but worse. In a downturn, consumers are more likely to cancel reoccurring subscriptions, systems, especially if there's barely any games coming out. As a private company, Valve doesn't answer to quarterly earning calls or shareholder demanding fast growth, and that means no panic pivots, no rushed monetization schemes, and no sudden shutdowns for restructuring. While big companies are downsizing, Steam quietly absorbs lost developers and new users, and even entire communities looking for stability. And for me, that's a win. The real threat right now is hardware pricing. I want Valve's new handhelds and products to succeed so they could expand Steam onto more systems. Honestly, I'm waiting for a mini version of the Steam Deck where it's $300 or less, but we'll cross that road when we come to it. For me, whatever they've been coming up with recently is starting to make a lot more sense. The Steam Deck isn't just another piece of hardware. It's a mix between PC freedom and console simplicity. You turn it on and your Steam library's there, and suddenly thousands of games from the last 20 years are playable on a single device. But when the Steam machine comes out though, it's gonna act like a console and change the way we play games in our living rooms, and these days, I feel like we've lost that love for couch multiplayer. And I think we know the reason why. Most PCs are designed around a single user sitting alone at a desk, and Steam Decks are designed around one person holding one screen. But the Steam machine flips that back and makes it feel like it's for more people. I've always found it annoying to connect my HDMI from my office PC to the living room TV just to play an old Mario Party game on Steam. When games are easy to play together locally, developers start making more of them. When people gather around one screen again, multiplayer stops being about rankings and toxicity and starts being about laughter and the fun. Unlike consoles, Steam already has thousands of couch multiplayer games like party games, brawlers, roguelikes, and platformers, but this whole time they've been trapped behind the awkwardness of PC setups. The Steam machine will kind of unlock them and turn our personal library into a social space. And I hope it'll make me forget all the annoying things I had to deal with Windows and its constant updates and bugginess. The truth is, a lot of people these days just want more options and a bang for their buck. If most games come out on Steam, people just need to buy one Valve console and they probably won't have to replace it for a long time. Any new indie or AA game that comes out will most likely be playable. Even in a market crash, they never have to worry about their library changing or updates that may slow their system down, because Valve believes that users should have the freedom to keep their old games playable no matter the hardware change. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a big company like this so allied with a consumer and developer at the same time. Anyways guys, that's all I got for today. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe for more. Your support is always appreciated. See you guys.